I now give the floor to the representative of Algeria.
Thank you, Mr. President. I extend my gratitude to Antonia Marie Demieux and Mohammed Hadi for their courageous accounts of the catastrophic intervention humanitarian situation in Gaza. Their words have not only informed us, they have shaken us to our core. Russia, China, and my own country, Algeria, called for this meeting to highlight the urgent need to unite and to coordinate our response to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Our meeting today signals hope that we can set aside our differences and unite in our shared humanity. But hope alone is not enough. The people of Gaza need more than our sympathy, more than our compassion. They need our decisive action. In Gaza, children cry out in hunger. Hospitals overflow with wounded and dying. And families huddle in the rubble of what was once their homes. No, it's not a distant tragedy. It is a catastrophe happening in real time, on our watch, challenging the very essence of our humanity. And we cannot turn away. We cannot remain silent, and we must not fail to act. The eyes of history are upon us, and the voices of Gaza's suffering people echo in this very chamber, asking us one simple question. If not the Security Council, who? If not now, when? Mr. President, today, 96% of Palestinian children and women face food insecurity in Gaza. The images of Palestinian children queuing to get something to eat or eating tree leaves should question our humanity and push us to act. The world watches. History judges. Let our voices thunder and our deed resound. No one more day shall pass with starvation used as a tool of war in Gaza. No one more day. And meanwhile, our Council is still discussing the number of trucks entering in Gaza, debating the obstacle deliberately put by the occupying power. Today, we face again challenges related to access and distribution of food. But both are the result of a deliberate Israeli policy. According to OCHA, during the first 2 weeks of July, only 86 trucks entered Gaza per day. This is clearly below the level required. This is clearly below the 500 trucks entering Gaza every day last year. Due to the lack of order and security, humanitarian actors are facing enormous challenge into delivering aid within Gaza to the civilian Palestinian population. And we are talking about human beings. We are talking about lives. We are talking about children who have their own dreams, dreams now destroyed by the barbaric Israeli occupying power. Let us be clear. We refute any attempt to absolve the occupying power or shift the responsibility for this disaster to the UN or to the humanitarian actors. The responsibility should be shouldered by the occupying power, which now targets blue helmets, which now target UNRWA. Yes, targeting and handcuffing UNRWA, the only humanitarian agency to capably distribute aid, is also another part of Israeli policy. And any attempt to discredit UNRWA undermines the principle of international cooperation and solidarity and should be opposed by the Security Council. Furthermore, the World Health Organization report of July 16, last week, is very alarming. Polio virus lurks in Gaza sewage, another silent threat poised to explode. This deadly virus now stalks a population already brought to its knees. Their health system is demolished. In the rubble of hospitals and clinics, a new epidemic looms. This is not just a crisis. This is an absolute catastrophe. We cannot ignore the WHO warnings about disease outbreaks among displaced population. Overcrowding, poor hygiene, and lack of water and sanitation in shelters create breeding ground for hepatitis A and other epidemics. These preventable diseases will claim more lives due to shortage of essential medical equipment and justly restricted under dual-use pretexts. Urgent action is needed to address these critical health risks. Israeli brutal tactics are nothing short of collective punishment. Collective punishment. a heinous war crime. As the occupying force, Israel bears full responsibility for the immense suffering and countless innocent Palestinian lives lost. This reign of terror must end. The world cannot longer stand silent in the face of such unspeakable cruelty. Mr. President, to address the dire humanitarian situation, Algeria calls for the following action to be taken. First, opening all crossing borders, including Rafah, and it should be operated exclusively by Egypt and the Palestinian Authority. Second, implementing Resolution 2720 by deploying monitors in Rafah to ensure the smooth access of humanitarian aid. Third, enabling UNRWA and other humanitarian actors to distribute humanitarian aid throughout the Gaza Strip, including the north of the territory. Fourth, launching a massive vaccination campaign by WHO to prevent the spread of polio among children. Children are innocent lives that should be protected by everyone. Fifth, ceasefire. Yes, without a ceasefire, all the above measures will be useless. Only a ceasefire in Gaza will allow for effective humanitarian action. Colleagues, the wounds inflicted on Gaza today will scar the world for generations to come. Our children, the future leaders, the future thinkers and citizens of the globe are watching us with eyes wide open. They see how we respond to the crisis of Palestinian children, to the tears of mothers, to the anguish of people pushed to the brink of existence. Our actions shape their understanding of justice, of compassion, and the value of human life. In this critical moment, the advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice stands as a beacon of hope and a step towards a sustainable solution of the crisis in the Middle East. The ICJ's crystal clear ruling declared Israel occupation illegal, and the settlement activities a violation of the international law. Those who believe in the international order should work to implement this judgment. It's not only a legal document, it is a moral compass pointing us toward a world where international law protects the vulnerable and hold the powerful to account. But make no mistake, if we fail to heed this call, if we allow the suffering in Gaza to continue, we are planting seeds of bitterness and despair that will bear terrible, terrible fruits. The only path to end this horrific tragedy is crystal clear. As President Abdelmajid Tebboune boldly proclaims, we must secure the Palestinian people's inalienable right to their own independent state, with Al-Quds Sharif as its rightful capital. It is a moral imperative, a historic debt that humanity must urgently repay. The price of our failure will be paid not just in geopolitics, but also in human lives and shattered dreams. Let's work. Let's work together to establish a Palestinian state with Al-Quds Sharif as its capital. This is the only path to peace and stability in the Middle East. I thank you.
I thank Algeria for their statement and now give the floor to China.
Thank you, President. I thank Deputy Commissioner General De Meo and Deputy Special Coordinator Mohamed Hadi for their briefings. The conflict in Gaza has been going on for over 9 months, causing an unprecedented, ever-worsening humanitarian catastrophe, with nearly 40,000 innocent civilians' lives lost. The red lines of international law and international humanitarian law have been crossed repeatedly. The unfolding tragedy in Gaza is testing the moral conscience of humanity and rocking the very foundation of international justice. It will be remembered as a stain in human history, one that is hard to scrub off. We cannot help but ask, how many more lives must be lost? How many more women and children must die? And how many more homes must be destroyed before this tragedy can cease, before the flames of war in Gaza can die down? It has been almost 2 months since Security Council Resolution 2735 was adopted, while certain countries keep asserting that negotiations for a ceasefire are underway. Israel has continued its large-scale military operations over the past 2 months, from Rafah to Khan Yunis, from IDP camps to hospitals, from UN schools to the quote-unquote safe zones designated by Israel. The bombings and attacks have not stopped even for a moment, and innocent civilians are dying each and every single day. Civilian lives must not be used as a bargaining chip for negotiations, and military offensives cannot create the conditions for the release of hostages. Negotiations mustn't go on indefinitely. There isn't a moment to lose when lives are at stake. And alleviating the humanitarian catastrophe allows no delay. We urge Israel to immediately cease all military operations in Gaza, and we urge the United States to put greater pressure on Israel to help bring about an immediate ceasefire. China supports the Council in taking further actions that are necessary to push for the implementation of the relevant resolutions. China reiterates that humanitarian issues mustn't be politicized and that starvation mustn't be turned into a weapon of war. The UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, or UNRWA, operating under the GA mandate, is the mainstay of humanitarian assistance in Gaza. China is firmly opposed to attempts to attack and discredit UNRWA and to throw a spanner in the works of UNRWA's mandate implementation. In an alarming development, an UNRWA humanitarian transport vehicle was recently shot at by Israeli forces. The safety and security of humanitarian workers must be ensured, and the incident in question must be thoroughly investigated and those responsible held accountable. China urges Israel to genuinely fulfill its obligations under international humanitarian law by opening all land crossings to give rapid access to humanitarian deliveries at scale and provide security and other required assistance to humanitarian agencies. China reiterates that the implementation of the two-state solution is the only viable way to resolve the Palestinian-Israeli issue. Settlement activities in Jordan, in the West Bank, violate international law and relevant Security Council resolutions and chip away at the foundation of the two-state solution, which we firmly oppose. All settlement activities must be halted and the ever-worsening settler violence must be effectively curbed. China has always been a staunch supporter of the restoration of the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people as a nation. Earlier this week, the intra-Palestinian groups held a reconciliation dialogue in Beijing and reached an important consensus, which is a significant step forward towards operationalizing the principle of Palestinians governing Palestine and preparing for post-war governance in Gaza. China firmly supports independent Palestinian statehood and calls for a broader-based, more authoritative and more effective international peace conference to work out a timetable and a roadmap for the implementation of the two-state solution with a view to putting the Palestinian question back on the right track towards a political settlement. President, the negative spillover effects of the Gaza conflict are spreading, echoed by other conflicts at multiple points in the region, and the situation between Lebanon and Israel and the developments in the Red Sea are troubling. Allowing the flames of war and the instability to spread even further would only lead to a catastrophe that engulfs the entire region. China calls on all parties concerned to exercise calm and restraint and to refrain from any action that would exacerbate the tensions. China is ready to work with the rest of the international community in a tireless effort to bring an early end to the war in Gaza, mitigate the impact of the havoc, and help the two-state solution become a reality so that Palestine and Israel can live alongside each other in peace, and durable peace and stability can prevail in the Middle East. I thank you, President.
I thank China for their statement, and I'll give the floor to...
Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: African politics, economy, and increasing power. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.
Tell us what you think in the comment section. Like and share the video, and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our African videos. It's the best way to support us.